This episode was brought to you by slateblackindustries. For M-LOK grips and accessories, visit slateblackindustries.com. For 5 years, Yevgeny Dragunov would design the sniper rifle that would bear his name one day, and the Soviets kept the design a close hold. Decades as the Cold War progressed, this was considered one of the most technologically advanced sniper weapon systems. And then the Chinese captured some, cloned them, and armed their own snipers. Welcome to 9-Hole Reviews. Today we talk about the Dragunov SVD, the PS01 scope, and we'll even demonstrate the IR source detection and the differences between the Chinese and the Russian SVD. Make no mistake, the SVD Dragunov is the Cold War icon that we consider as one of the most well-designed marksman's rifles produced. Although the original SVD is outdated by today's standard, there is still many aspects of the Dragunov that make it a highly effective marksman's rifle. Take note that in this video we will refer to the term as sniper under Soviet doctrine, which is closer to the current NATO doctrine of the designated marksman. We are fully aware that there will be viewers who for some reason get personally offended by a 308 SVD copy, and I wish you all the courage in telling us off in the comments section. Stepping into the 50s, Mr. Yevgeny Dragunov, a weapons designer who was also a sports shooter, would develop the next generation of Soviet sniper rifles. The Soviet Army has had decades of effective sniper doctrine and deployment at this point. Post-World War II, they had the mosin-nagant M9130 PU sniper and the Tokarev SVT-40 sniper. While the SVT-40 delivered less accuracy than the Mosin PU sniper, the Soviet Army recognized the semi-automatic sniper's usefulness in supporting infantry units and the developed sniper doctrine. There was a need for a new sniper rifle that was light, accurate, semi-auto, rugged, and easy to maintain. In short, they wanted it all. After fierce evaluation, the sniper rifle Dragunov system of year 1963 was officially put in production in Izhmash. Typically, sniper rifles are developed from a base system. The SVD, however, was a ground-up design, specifically designed as a semi-automatic sniper rifle. It was an extremely lightweight, short-stroke piston tappet system that was versatile enough to just strip the scope in the cheekpiece off if the soldier needed to fight in close quarters. No tools were required to field strip and maintain the SVD. The rifle strips with an SKS-style rear latch, and the dust cover comes off like a Kalashnikov. One will also notice a rotating 3-lug bolt slides right out of the carrier, but there is no piston attached to the carrier like a Kalashnikov. Note that the gas block is also adjustable for gassing with a cartridge, and the tip of the cartridge assists with the handguard disassembly. The action rod and the piston are then simply pressed out. Shortly after first production, the Russian military requested Dragunov to shorten the barrel twist from 1 to 320mm to 1 in 240mm to accommodate a heavier and longer AP incendiary or specialty rounds. While the barrel twist decreases the rifle's accuracy with the standard 7N1 151 grain sniper ammunition, being able to use explosive projectiles have been a devastating part of the Soviet snipers' doctrine in World War II. The Chinese and Soviets were no longer communist friends in the 60s. With the political differences, the Soviets did not send any technical data packages to China on the SVD like they did for the AK, SKS, and RPD. The Chinese SVD actually came about from the PLA capturing SVDs that the USSR supplied the Vietnamese during the brutal Sino-Vietnamese War in 1979. And then the Chinese reverse engineered the SVDs into the Type 79s. Now the Chinese have a reputation of being very talented at reverse engineering. In order to put this conspiracy to rest, I went to my friends at Collector's Firearms, who have one of the largest firearms collections in the country, and I asked them for help. Hey!
Yeah.
I need your tiger.
This one?
Spasiba. So we'll look at the Chinese Dragunov, and this is a commercial Russian Tiger Dragunov. We'll compare some of the internals and see how they fit together. Let's start stripping it down a little more to see what we get. We'll just mic it. We observe very tight tolerances between certain parts between the Chinese and the Russian variety. However, due to changes in the fire control group, the Chinese and Russian parts don't all interchange. And this here is the Russian carrier with the Chinese bolts installed. And it does not go in. Now this is the Russian bolt in the Chinese carrier. And it works! Typically, caliber conversions for similar dimension casings involve switching out a new barrel, a bolt with a different bolt face, magazine and magwell cut, and not the bolt carrier. The carrier should be the same between similar dimension adaptations from 54 rim to 308. The Vepr in 54 rim to 308 is like this, and 7.62 Soviet AR-15s are also like this. If you have a Chinese NDM86 in 54 rim, we invite you to measure your bolt channel to see if it matches our dimensions here. Post it into the comments section. Although not all parts are interchangeable, it is hard to turn away from how the Chinese were able to mass produce a reverse-engineered rifle with tolerances this close to Russian spec. Consider that the Iranians actually then reverse-engineer the Chinese clone to make their illegal copy of an illegally copied SVD, calling it the S.T.A.L.K.E.R 3. Later on, the Type 85 would make an update on the barrel twist to 1 in 315 mm, which ironically almost has the same exact barrel twist as the original design that Dragunov had to accommodate the 150 grain sniper ammunition. We took the rifle out for a series of tests. When we shot the rifle on our practical accuracy course, we were able to achieve some very impressive results until we reached 800, where the rifle stopped maintaining at 0. With Black Hill's 175 grain Sierra Match King 308, we took it back to do a heat test, where we shot the rifle one shot every 3 to 4 seconds to observe the effects of heat on group dispersion. But indeed, we saw a shift in group size and impact location as the barrel heated up. The first 9-hole group measured in at 1.8 inches. After the first 9 shots, we saw the group size open up 34% on average from the 1.8 MOA to the average size 2.4 MOA. But what's more interesting is the fact that by the 27th round, the grouping actually shifted left by 1.2 inches, which could translate to a 10-inch shift to the left at 800 yards. When we cooled the barrel again, the NDM86 was indeed able to achieve another 1.8 MOA 9-shot group, just like the first tested group. Finally, since a rifle was designed to have the scope and cheek piece removed, and for the operator to run it like a standard infantry rifle if needed, we had Josh shoot it at close range even though he thought I was insane for asking.
Forward to this or what?
This weighs, this feels like it's like a broom. Like it's the weight of like a barn broom. Oh, I wasn't bringing it back to the middle of the target, I was driving it down to the left of the target. So the recoil on it's pretty darn sharp. I was shooting it at a speed that I felt like I could probably keep up with where the recoil was going. You've got a decent sized cartridge with a lot of moving internals and a very, very light overall package, especially with the optic removed. So the recoil was pretty darn sharp. Yeah, the grips are beautiful on this gun. The problem is it's just like slick. It's slick, so you can't, like, it's super important for me as I'm shooting to be able to pull into my shoulder to help mitigate recoil, but as you can see, I just slide right down the grip. So if I had to utilize this in a close range roll, albeit certainly not ideal under basically any situation, I would much rather have a setup like this than say a bolt action style firearm. I might even leave the optic on and just shoot both eyes open, trying to utilize the reticle through my right eye and kind of seeing the vision down with my left, similar to how you might even shoot a red dot.
As we know, any sniper rifle's performance is a direct reflection of the scope used, and the Russian PSO-1 scope was one of the most technologically advanced scopes available of its era. Though optical clarity is nothing to write home about for modern standards, but it gets the job done. The reticle is a simple and yet effective design. A rangefinder on the side allows the operator to quickly range a target's height and then dial. Additional chevrons under the main aiming chevron is then a bullet drop compensator for 1100, 1200 and 1300 meters, and the wind hold-off hashes are beyond easy to use when shooting in high wind conditions.
Impact. Nice.
Under low light conditions, the shooter can illuminate the reticle, as seen here. Some PSO-1 scopes also have solar rechargeable cells up top for their infrared detection filters. The cell is positioned to where the scope would automatically recharge during daylight operations. After roughly a 2-hour charge, the soldier is then able to flip up the internal infrared filter. This detects any infrared light sources emitted by or for night vision devices. We tested this function with an infrared floodlight and found that these scopes indeed can aim at infrared sources. With the illuminated reticle and the infrared sensor, the rifle is potentially able to eliminate targets at the 100 to 200 meter distances as long as they have an infrared light source. To put this into perspective, while Dragunov was designing the SVD, America was putting this contraption together where the battery was the size of a rucksack and could explode if it got wet, with a cartridge with a max effective range of 270 meters. While the West was busy trying to turn failed infantry rifles into sniper rifles, the elegantly designed SVD was deployed to far-flung corners in the world as a sufficiently accurate, lightweight, rugged, dependable, and technologically advanced sniper rifle. The SVD fulfilled exactly what it was required to do, taking out torso-sized targets at varying distances, varying weather, and light conditions. The SVD should not be taken lightly. We'd like to thank our viewer Matt for loaning us this mint NDM86. It is an exceedingly rare opportunity to see these rifles in the US, and we even got to fire the first shot. And you can see that this rifle did not have a speck of soot in it before. Thank you Matt for making this happen, and for everybody else, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the range. Let's deflower this.
716 is Steel 96, 4 Vic, 8 packs, Redcon 1, green to green. How copy, over?
Steel 96, this is 716, roger, over. 16, Steel 91, 1 pack, green, over. This is 716, roger, over.
16, Steel 92, 1 Victor, 2 packs, Redcon 1, over.